Hi everyone, hope everybody's well. Really looking forward to today's Instagram live. We're just going to wait for a few people to join us. Hi everyone. Really looking forward to today. As I said, we're just going to wait for a few of you to join us. But we have, hi Jenny, there you are.
Hi, good morning.
I think you need to turn your camera the other way. You're on your side.
Oh, am I? I do apologise. Let's just sort this out.
That's fine. I'm just going to wave to a few people while you're figuring it out.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's fine. While you're doing that, I'm just telling everyone we're here today to talk to Jenny Carson, who is Senior Nutritionist at ethical vitamin company Viridian Nutrition. And you're the right way round now.
That's a good start.
So yeah, hi there, how are you?
I'm very well, yourself?
Yeah, really good, thank you. So yes, we've got lots of people joining us. I'm just going to give a few more people time to catch up. But as I said, welcome to the Latte Lounge, everyone, on this lovely morning. We're here with Jenny Carson, who is Senior Nutritionist at ethical vitamin company Viridian Nutrition. And Jenny and I are going to be talking today about how our hair, skin and nails are affected by our hormones as we age, why this is and what we can do about it. And we'll leave some time at the end, obviously, like we always do, for some questions. If you have them, just pop them in the comment section below and we will do our best to answer them. So hi Jenny, and thank you for being with us again. Look, we get loads of women join our Facebook group who are often complaining about things like thinning hair and why their nails are sort of brittle, and our skin often sort of feels quite dull and lifeless. I just wonder whether you might want to start and talk to us a little bit about why this happens, especially during these perimenopause and menopause years.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So, as we know, through the perimenopausal period and through the menopause, estrogen production is declining. And these symptoms are generated because estrogen plays a key role in regulating the production of collagen, which plays a role in all tissues. And also estrogen regulates keratin, and keratin is the structural protein that's present in hair and nails, and what gives it its structure and strength, essentially.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of collagen, that is a really important aspect in terms of the menopausal period. It's considered that collagen decreases approximately by 2% for each post-menopausal year, and that skin will thin by just over 1% per menopausal year. And the reason that this is so important is collagen plays a role in a lot of the symptoms and side effects of the menopause. So when we think about any symptom that's related to tissue, so whether that's vaginal atrophy, an increase predisposition to, say, bladder infections or bladder conditions, but also tissues around the joints within the cardiovascular system. So really sort of working in a dietary manner to preserve and support collagen production is there's potential to have lots and lots of beneficial repercussions from that.
Sure. And so look, so we talk about collagen, and obviously that's very relevant for our skin, and the facial skin in particular is what a lot of us tend to focus on, although obviously the skin all over our body. I know a lot of women complain about itchiness and feeling of sort of ants crawling and all that kind of stuff. But let's sort of start a little bit about the skin and how we can help our skin as we age, because I know a lot of women are obviously worried about things like dull skin and wrinkles and dry spots, and it affects a lot of women's confidence as well. I think in teenage years you're so worried about things like acne, and you don't think that that's then possibly going to reoccur. So what are some of the things that we should be thinking about and can help ourselves with?
Absolutely. I mean, firstly, it's really useful to start off with a whole foods diet. And by a whole foods diet, I mean including foods that are in their original state. So looking at several colours of vegetables, fruits, and then working on things like fresh cuts of meats, you know, organic eggs, nuts, seeds, oily fish, even having the consideration of fermented foods, especially organic soy fermented. So that can be the organic tofus, the tempeh, the natto. All those foods are not just delivering beneficial bacteria, but they're also a really good source of plant estrogens, which we call phytoestrogens. Now, they're nowhere near as powerful as human estrogen. They're considered to be for a 1/400th of a strength of human estrogen, but it is a natural way of introducing and buffering and supporting estrogen production within the diet. Now, in terms of skin health, skin tends to respond to carotenoid rich foods. So plants and fruits that are orange in colour are a great place to start. So thinking about things like butternut squash, peaches, nectarines, sweet potato, they're really rich sources of beta carotene, and that is a fat soluble plant nutrient that's known to have a key role within skin health, and also to have the capacity to preload the skin with antioxidant nutrients, so warding off damage that can occur through oxidation. So a prime example is exposure to pollution and UV exposure, UV rays. Yeah.
So I mean, in things like protecting our skin when we're out and about in the, you know, whether it's in the sun or from pollution,
Yeah.
you know, what can we do to sort of prevent, you know, sort of some preventative stuff? Obviously, you've talked about the nutrition, but what about things like sunscreen and
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's important that everybody gets 20 minutes unprotected sun exposure. It's great if they can get it on their upper arms and shoulders, and that's just to ensure a good vitamin D production. But after that 20-minute period, then yes, it is really important to cover the skin. So we're looking at, you know, either clothing or paraben-free UV rays, UV sun protection. So yeah, in terms of offering protection, there's a close correlation between increased episodes of sunburn and the later development of hyperpigmentation and inflammatory hyperpigmentation. So yeah, keeping the skin covered and protected is really important.
And we'll go back to skin a little bit at the end, because I've got quite a few questions on that. But turning to hair for a minute, and then we'll obviously go on to nails. You know, it is one of the biggest topics of conversation on all our social channels that women, you know, and I'm the first to admit I've noticed it myself, is that hair is thinning and it's often in the sort of crown area. You know, what can we be doing? You know, why is this happening? And, you know, what can we be doing to sort of help our hair from, you know, from a nutrition point of view?
Yeah, sure. I mean, hair is it's a huge part of our identity. I can completely appreciate that. In terms of nutritional support for hair, hair health comes from several aspects. Thyroid plays a big role in hair health. So although estrogen also does in terms of regulating the amount of structural proteins that are driven into hair, there's also an element of the thyroid health that plays a role. So in terms of supporting the thyroid, we're looking at nutrients such as iron, iodine, selenium, the B vitamins and vitamin A. So that's an excellent place to start in terms of thyroid. In fact, research does show individuals with lower iron intake is associated with poorer hair quality. So, you know, it's easy to get an iron test. It's a blood sample test, see where your iron level's at and whether there's the need to supplement. So that's sort of covering thyroid health. And I think iodine as well is a really important nutrient for thyroid health, iodine and selenium. And it can be a nutrient that's often overlooked, especially certain individuals following a vegan diet. You know, one of your main sources if you're following a vegan diet then is just seaweed, or if you're using iodinized salt. Whereas individuals following a more omnivorous diet will get iodine also from fish, shellfish, and seafood in general. So there's a greater spectrum of foods that are providing iodine. Very similar for selenium. You're going to get that from your whole grains, your seafood, but also from anything that's grown in the ground essentially. So green leafies tend to be an excellent source of selenium. And then of course, you know, getting a couple of Brazil nuts in every day, again, an excellent source of selenium. So that they would all be very much supportive of hair health. When you're looking more at the estrogen impact on hair, then what we would be looking here is supporting protein intake. So the amino acids, proline, glycine play a key role in the development of keratin for then having it driven into the hair shaft.
Mm-hmm.
So the types of foods that you're looking at here would be much more down poultry, fish, meats and legumes for those specific amino acids to help support hair health.
And I mean, I don't know whether I'm sure you've heard from a lot of people. We've heard a lot of women in the last 18 months have suffered hair loss as a side effect to COVID. And you know, and a lot of women are not sure if it's coincidental because they're hitting this perimenopause and menopause stage at the same time. But a lot of people are saying, you know, even their partners have had long COVID symptoms. Is hair loss reversible if with the right nutritional support?
That's a difficult question. I mean, it's very plausible what you're stating in terms of individuals that have suffered with COVID and have also noticed that their hair loss has increased, and that's because the body's using the same nutrients that are necessary for hair health to support the immune system. So you can see there that the body's redirecting that nutrition into survival, immunity and recovering from the viral infection. I think in terms of post-COVID and improving hair after the infection, then, you know, the individual is looking at really, you know, they're probably going to want a food supplement. I think to get a large volume of those nutrients that support hair health from just the diet potentially could be a little bit difficult. So a hair, skin, nails type formula might be useful in that post-viral infection period, and that is going to give you the best chance to reverse the negative aspects in terms of hair health that you've experienced.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think, you know, with stress as well and low mood and COVID and menopause, I mean, we've been set up for an immediate fail. And actually, what one of our followers has just asked, do multivitamins help?
Yeah, I mean, there's the potential for multivitamins to help. I think have a good look at the label. If you're thinking specifically about hair health, then the nutrients I would be looking at is to get at least 10 milligrams of iron in that formula, to have at least 100 to 150 micrograms of iodine. In terms of selenium, you'd be wanting somewhere, I'd say somewhere in excess of 70 micrograms of selenium. Then you would want a full spectrum of B vitamins, some form of vitamin A, which may be carotenoids, beta carotene, or the formula may actually state vitamin A as retinol, retinoic acid. You know, and they're really good nutrients for supporting hair health. You may also see compounds such as silica. So there's a herb called horsetail that's very rich in silica. Some companies use bamboo, that's a very rich source of silica. Or you can look at silica rich waters, so the brands Fiji, Volvic, they tend to have greater quantities of silica naturally occurring within the mineral water. There's also an Italian brand, but I can't bring the name to mind at the minute. But yeah, they're the kind of nutrients that you would be looking at. I think if the choice is between a multi and a hair, skin, nails type formula, the hair, skin, nails is probably going to be slightly more attuned. But there's no reason why they couldn't use the hair, skin, nails for 12 weeks and then transfer onto an appropriate multi, which they felt still had a good provision of the nutrients that we've discussed.
Sure. And that member says thank you. You're welcome.
Oh, you're welcome.
And so turning to nails, again, brittle nails, breaking nails, you know, sort of roughness, all these sort of questions we get. What can we be doing nutrition wise to help strengthen our nails?
Sure. I mean, one of the things with nail strength is it's exactly the same nutrients as hair strength. Mm-hmm. So it's not that we're having to think about a hair protocol and then a nails protocol. It's exactly the same. So again, we're looking at nutrition that's rich in protein so we can support the keratin production and the nail growth. And then nutrients such as vitamin C, zinc, iron, iodine, selenium, they're all involved in the production of nails. There is some evidence around vitamin B12 and a combination of vitamin B12 and vitamin C in terms of nail health. So always ensuring that you've got a good spectrum of B vitamins in the diet can be useful. Doesn't necessarily have to come from a multi. It could be something like a nutritional yeast that also provides B12, and you know, getting a good variety of things like mushrooms, whole grains, brown rices, and then protein-rich sources such as eggs, poultry, fish, meats, and so on. Mm-hmm.
I'm just sort of thinking whilst you were going through that whole list, you know, you talked about women who have vegan and vegetarian diets. If you're, you know, and also young girls, because a lot of women in our group have teenage girls and, you know, who are menstruating. From an iron point of view, if you're not having meat in your diet, red meat in your diet, again, a lot of women are saying, I think the sort of teenagers are all taking on this vegan diet almost because it's sort of trendy and fashionable, perhaps. Although obviously some of them are doing for the right reasons that they, you know, want to be doing it for. But what can they do? What can they do when they're not having red meat in their diet?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you know, there are lots of benefits of going plant-based, but it's also, like you've just highlighted, it is really important to be mindful that there are certain nutrients that are either quite low in a vegan diet or even deficient. I mean, the easiest thing is to look at a multivitamin that is designed specifically to support a vegan diet. I mean, iron is found in some dried fruits such as prunes and apricots. It's also, you know, there is an amount of iron present in green leafy vegetables. The importance when you're using green leafy vegetables in the diet to preserve the iron content is to make sure that they're steamed. If they're raw, they contain phytates and oxalic acids which bind the minerals within, so you actually get a lower absorption than the actual plant contains. So it is really important to lightly steam or cook those vegetables. But yeah, I completely agree. Even if it's a periodized program of nutrition where the individual starts iron supplementation maybe 10 to 7 days prior to the start of their menstrual cycle and continues it through the menstrual cycle. Again, you know, a key way to know whether your iron levels are good is if your energy level is good. Is your mind alert? Is your mind awake? Are you feeling energetic? And keeping an eye on, you know, how your hair feels. And if any of those are slightly amiss, then you know, you probably do need a little bit more iron. It may be worth investigating an iron test to see where your blood levels are, and then you can think about a supplementation plan to support that.
Sure. So, okay, we've got a few minutes left before I want to sort of go to the questions.
Sure.
Can you give us some lifestyle tips then on what we can do to help protect our hair, skin and nails? I mean, I know we briefly touched on skin exposure, but obviously, you know, what other tips would you suggest for members? And again, well, I'll ask the next question afterwards, but we've just had a question in about sort of knowing what type of vitamin to choose, you know, to supplement the diet. But let's talk about lifestyle tips first.
Okay, so in terms of lifestyle, like we said, we touched on 20 minutes of summer sun exposure unprotected, and then to protect after, and that's just so we can get a good amount of vitamin D into our system. After that, we'll be looking at a whole foods diet, and in this area, I really like the 80-20 rule. So 80% of calories are from foods that are in their original state, and that just gives you a little bit of wiggle room for those 20% of, you know, it might be that you like a daily cup of coffee or a glass of wine, or, you know, a little treat every now and again. So the 80-20 rule. And if those sort of fruits and vegetables, if there's a lot of orange, yellow and red pigments in there, then we know that we're getting very rich foods, rich sources of carotenoids, which are absorbed very well into the skin cells and give us that antioxidant protection. After the nutrition, I'd be looking at minimizing the intake of processed fats and processed foods. And also thinking about, there is a compound called advanced glycation end products, and we generate AGEs, they tend to call them. We generate those when we consume foods that are cooked at very, very high temperatures. So that's breakfast cereals, crackers, certain breads, or even charred foods such as barbecued foods. And what they do is they encourage the deposition of a glucose molecule into structural proteins. So instead of the structural proteins lying flush against each other, they become cross-linked, and that cross-linkage causes a wrinkling of the skin. So if we can have lots of brightly coloured plant based foods in our diet, then we're protecting from that AGE cross-linkage. Mm-hmm. Hydration is absolutely key, because dehydrated skin will look dull and flat. So if we've got plenty of hydration, and if we feel that we're drinking lots of water but we're constantly peeing it out, that might be that we need some electrolyte minerals. You can get electrolyte formulations, and they just provide a small amount of magnesium, calcium, sodium, chloride and potassium, and that just helps us retain the water and have that sort of nice plumped skin effect. And then finally, sleep. You know, having a good sleep hygiene protocol that you start an hour or two before going to bed, and it's going to include things like turning off devices, changing your laptop to an orange hue as opposed to the blue backlit. Also making sure that the temperature in the bedroom is nice and cool. That is optimal in terms of onset of sleep. And also thinking about the air quality. You know, for example, I live quite close to a busy road, so I like to run an air filter in my bedroom just to fix, when I have the window open, there's the risk of pollution coming in. But also, if we've got fabrics throughout the house that are maybe treated with fire retardants, very common with sofas and carpets, then those fabrics may be emitting chemicals into the air. So having an air filter, especially in the bedroom, keeps the air nice and clean, and you know, you're breathing in dust-free, particle-free air. And I would say they're the sort of the top tips in terms of managing menopausal skin health.
And from a supplementation point of view, if people are still sort of feeling their diet and nutrition is optimized, and how can supplements help, and how would, you know, people know where to basically start and what,
Sure.
you know, how much to take.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when hair, skin, nails is the focus, I would look for a specific formulation
Mhm.
with that's focused and designed specifically to support hair, skin, and nails. And the types of compounds that they would be providing would be things like MSN. That helps with structural skin. It also absorbs water and helps hold water within the skin to give that plumped look. Or it may have hyaluronic acid, which again works in a very similar manner, draws water into skin. In fact, with hyaluronic acid and MSM, studies have found that the depth of wrinkles has been decreased through using supplemental MSM or supplemental hyaluronic acid. And then on top of that, you would be looking for vitamin C, iron, B-vits, vitamin A, either as vitamin A or as carotenoids, and some zinc and some selenium. So that would be a really good place to start. In terms of how much to use, there will always be manufacturer's guidelines, so I would say stick to that. If you are using any prescribed medications, then it's definitely worth having a chat with the GP. Just to find out if there's any potential contraindications between the medication and the supplemental nutrients. But that would be a really good place to start, is a hair, skin, nails formula.
Sure. All right, that's really helpful. Thank you so much. That honestly is very interesting and helpful, and I think you've really covered pretty much everything I wanted to ask you. But we've got a few questions in. If you've just got time, Jenny. And this is one that we get asked a lot, and I'm always very worried that people are sort of suggesting, you know, things without necessarily, you know, looking into them properly. But collagen drinks are often, it seems to be the new fad. Can you just tell us, you know, a little bit about what collagen drinks are, and whether there's any evidence that they actually do help?
Yeah, sure. So the jury's out in terms of collagen drinks, and I think that's because the molecular size of the collagen. It appears that the smaller the molecular size of the collagen, then the better absorption. If it's a large molecular size, then the theory is that the body breaks it down into the individual amino acids. I mean, all is not lost, because once the amino acids are absorbed, the body will use them as it feels necessary, and that may be for the to contribute to collagen production. So I don't want to appear all doom and gloom towards them, but you know, making sure, maybe contact the manufacturer, find out the molecular size. I feel that with collagen supplements, you do pay for what you get. Yeah. So if it is a cheaper product, it may not be quite as good quality and well researched as a more expensive one. The other thing with collagen is it's not just taking in the collagen, it's taking in all the other nutrients that support its utilization within the body. So again, you know, this is where we're talking about things like vitamin C and protein-rich foods and zinc. So it is necessary for those nutrients to be taken in around about a similar time, just to support its utilization within the body. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, we've got time for one more question, and then
sure.
if anyone else wants to ask any questions, if you email me, and I'll give the details at the end, I'll send it in to Jenny, who Absolutely. Has always been really helpful at getting back to people. So this is from a member last night on our Facebook group, actually, who says, my mother is on heart meds, and what is it, warfarin? Yeah, warfarin. Warfarin, yeah. She has psoriasis on her scalp that isn't shifting with the prescribed lotion. Do you have any advice, please? And she's talking as well from a nutrition point of view, if that could help, worth considering, or if she should sort of go back to her doctor. Okay, one of the issues around warfarin is it's highly reactive to a lot of food supplements. So this is a really important question. Generally, we would always refer an individual to their GP if they're prescribed warfarin. And the reason being, warfarin is a very potent blood thinner. And if you take on large volumes of nutrients such as vitamin C, fish oils, anything else that also has a blood thinning effect, then it's considered a contraindication.
and you know, the last thing that we would want was to be put somebody's health at risk. So for this particular individual, it is a little bit difficult in terms of food supplements. However, dietary, there is some evidence around supporting the liver function and in its beneficial effect, potential beneficial effect with psoriasis. So in terms of the diet, we would be looking at introducing a good selection of different coloured vegetables into the diet, and you know, fruits, supporting the liver function in that manner. But yeah, in terms of any form of supplement or collagen drink, she really would need to discuss anything like that with the GP first.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
All right, one more question, and then we must wrap up. This I mentioned right back at the beginning, and a very, very common question. But this is from a member who's saying her skin on her back in particular, but also sometimes on her arms, is incredibly itchy. And whatever she's tried in terms of lotions and potions, nothing is helping. Is there anything from a nutrition point of view she can do? She's on HRTs, so her estrogen is optimized, she thinks.
Okay, all right, okay. So one of the theories behind the itching of the skin in certain areas is that the actual skin integrity is compromised. So for this type of issue, I would say make sure there's enough protein in the diet. She can Google protein rich foods and just, you know, get a good selection there. And then if she's interested in supplementation, I would be looking at 3 amino acids, and that would be glutamine. Glutamine generally comes as a powder that you would mix into water. Generally you take it upon rising and then leave a good half an hour before eating or drinking anything else. Also have a look out for glycine. That's another amino acid, again generally comes as a powder. And also cysteine, you'll see it as N-acetylcysteine. The reason I'm recommending those 3 amino acids is that what the body does is, once it's absorbed, it transforms them into an antioxidant nutrient called glutathione. And that can be very, very useful in terms of protection for the skin and protection of the skin integrity, which sounds like it's a little bit compromised at the moment. So yeah, so glycine, glutamine, and N-acetylcysteine.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. Well, look, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm afraid that's all we've got time for. But if anyone would like any more support or information, please do check out Viridian's website, which is viridian-nutrition.com. Or you can email us at hello@lattelounge.co.uk with any other questions, and we'll forward them on to Jenny and get you some replies. So thanks so much, Jenny, for joining us again.
You're more than welcome.
All right, and have a good day, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Take care.
Take care. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.